We always like to say in our presentations, to confuse, amuse, and educate, Robbie, we're going to share with people by demonstration how AI can be implemented into your event, into your meetings, into your business, and make immediate impact.
Welcome to the AI show from Think Labs. In the whirlwind of AI advancements and innovation, we do the deep dives and all the research, so you don't have to. We Fisher-Price the essential news, updates, interviews, and breakthroughs of the week, providing actionable insight that impacts you, your teams, and your companies. Now let's get started. Here's your hosts, Stanton and Robbie Sawyer.
Well, hello and welcome to the Think Labs AI show, show number 4. I am Sam Stanton, and this is
Robbie Sawyer.
Robbie Sawyer. And Robbie, again, we made it another week.
Yes, my head's still spinning from the first week.
The first week.
Yeah.
We are coming to you live, both video and audio.
Right.
I don't know how much video will be needed. We might pull out a puppet show or something like that, but you never know what we're going to do here, so we'll see what happens.
Could be fun.
Actually, I think we do know what we're going to do here. Robbie, what are we doing today? What is on the roster?
We are going to talk a lot about AI, shockingly enough.
Really?
Yeah, we're going to share how you can actually implement AI at events, specifically for an event that we're headed to tomorrow, FICP.
Oh, that's right.
In their annual event down in Marco Island, Florida. We're going to talk about a very interesting article that somebody between the two of us, not me, posted on Substack, which is a ton of fun.
That's fun to announce and share our Think Labs insights, which you'll learn more about that.
Yeah, and then we'll do some hot shotting.
Hot shots.
Yeah, hot shots.
Talk
about a number of different things.
Okay. So tomorrow, then, we are headed to FICP, and for those that don't know, that's the Financial and Insurance Convention Planners Association annual meeting. Always interesting to see all of these senior event planners and hospitality partners that are driving our meetings and driving the discussions and driving the, I guess, the marketing and intelligence of some of the biggest companies in the U.S.
Yeah, no, it's we've been fortunate to have partnered with those folks for a number of years now, and they've certainly jumped on board what we've been bringing to the table from an innovation perspective. It was fun to be at their Ed Forum a few months ago.
That's right.
Obviously, this is big time, much larger scale.
This is big time, and it's fun in that, yes, we will be doing our traditional photography, but now everything must have its AI twist, and that is the real excitement that's happening here. We are there to share and show, or as we always like to say in our presentations, to confuse, amuse, and educate. Robbie, we're going to share with people by demonstration how AI can be implemented into your event, into your meetings, into your business, and make immediate impact.
We haven't talked a lot about what we've done from an AI perspective around photography. I don't know if you want to start there. Maybe.
Yeah, that is really fun. So as you know, we've been around for 30-something years doing event photography and marketing sort of photography and video, which has evolved, and we were the first to do digital in 2001, and that's great. But now we looked at what are ways that we can enhance and elevate our game, and that was absolutely with AI. There's so much opportunity there. And initially our thoughts were, how can we use AI to identify people? Wouldn't it be cool if we could figure out to find all the shots of Mr. and Miss Jones? Wouldn't that be great? So as we track that over the last 15 years, anytime a service or a company got to anything of significance, they were bought up by the Googles, the Apples, and those sorts. So now, as with the full launch of AI about 2 years ago for this part, we now have a complete AI platform. We call that Pro AI.
Yeah, and it's fun. I mean, obviously I wasn't with you guys early on when you brought and started dealing with digital photography. But what's really cool about this is that it becomes an I mean, it's not just getting your shot taken, it's an experience. It's been fun to see people engaging with the platform and doing the facial recognition and being able to be notified when a photo is taken. Oh, that's kind of fun.
Yeah, I mean, it goes back to how is AI going to change all these things. So we'll just quickly jump into that. So we don't have robots yet taking photos, but no, we don't.
No, we don't.
Okay.
Alberto's not even a robot.
No, he's not.
No.
But you still have that human
Shout
factor,
out, Alberto.
that empathy, that understanding. You got to make people feel comfortable before you get their shots, and that's what the guys are good at for sure.
Right.
So you guys are safe. Don't worry about that. But the next piece, the laborious task of, hey guys, I just was at this cocktail party. Here's 900 images. Would you mind punching those out real quick?
Right.
Which, that's what we do, right? It's all about now, 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 now. But now we have got AI involved, and we've basically trained our AI model with 100,000 images. This is what we think a perfect image should look like. And now every photo that comes in, it looks at them and says, oh, I need to make this adjustment and this adjustment to take it to that level.
Okay.
So literally in 11 minutes for 900 images, it'll edit them all down. That's the first part of AI, right? It's still what we call centaur, meaning that it's half AI and half person, because we have one tech now instead of 2 or 3. And then the next piece is, how do we get those back to the guests immediately? Because it's about reinforcing the now. So we do have the AI photo galleries that look like a normal gallery and work like one until you hit the little smiley face, at which point it looks at your face and then it looks through. It can do 10,000 images in 2 seconds and find every shot of you at that event.
Okay. Yeah.
Which is, for a sales guy who just sold 500 Lexuses for the month or whatever they do, that's a big deal. All they really care about is, I need to see myself having a good time, right? So to be able to return that and do that. So that's a really cool piece.
So is that, so what happens if they're not utilizing one of our photographers?
That's a great question,
That's
Robert.
why I asked it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the thing there is, in the past, you know, the majority of people we talk to have got a long-standing relationship with the CEO's son's friend who's the photographer, or someone who's traveled for 50 years, or they hire a DMC's friend to do that. And that's fine. That's reality, right?
Sure.
But what's also reality is, you never know if those images are going to be great, if the guy's going to show up on time, if he's going to be dressed right, is he going to get those images? And then, more importantly, are you going to get the images? And when are you going to get the images?
Sometimes.
And have they been edited or not? And how are you, the event planner, going to distribute them?
Right.
So that's why Pro AI platform is so cool and innovative, in that now, please use the people you know and that you're familiar with and comfortable with, but bring that added level of confidence and consistency across all of your events, because now your event photographer is given a link to the portal, and at the end of the day, they just drop all their images in there, and instantly they are culled down, so the best shots are selected, they are named, they are edited, they are dropped into a private custom facial recognition photo gallery. There is an archive created on the last day, and the day before the last day, the AI goes through, selects all the highlights, creates a highlight show, and sends it to someone on site.
Okay.
So that's a game changer for what has been a product or maybe a service. It's an experience.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, that's one component of AI.
No one saw that coming.
No, I mean, is that being used in the industry?
No.
No.
I mean, there are a couple, let me find your photos on the website.
Yeah.
But automating the processes to return the wow immediately, no, that hasn't been used.
So what are those experiences that, if you're going to a charity event of some kind, and we've been to those where you walk up and they're doing the shots, and I guess that's what you're talking about. Your shots are available, but you have to go onto a website and you got to go through.
Yeah, you got to go scroll through.
You got to scroll through and find your shot.
And if it is that immediate, it definitely wasn't edited.
Yeah, it's not in AI enhanced.
And when you throw in like our AI headshot stuff, where it goes in and enhances. Yeah. So not Kardashian crazy, just Like it smooths everything out. It answers
Yeah.
that proverbial,
Yeah.
can you make me look thinner, younger, or do you have a makeup artist here to make that? So the answer is yes.
Yeah.
Right?
Okay.
It's crazy and not creepy. Now I've seen creepies, but we don't do creepy.
Okay. So we're talking about elevating experiences and we're talking about empowering people.
We haven't yet, but let's talk about that, right?
Yeah, no, that's what
Okay,
I'm saying. So we're going to talk about, yes.
So, and as we've always had that common thread of so much of this is around AI literacy or understanding or education. So very forward thinking of FICP. They are having an engagement area. They're having the Think Labs there with a bunch of demonstrations and tactical, touchy, feely, put your hands on it and try it examples of AI and how that can be used. And that's what we're doing. So we're going to have several things there to show. First, of course, we'll have our boggler assist.
Right.
And we all heard about that last week, but the quick summary of that is it's an intelligent assistant that sits on your device, whether it's your phone or your desktop or your laptop or whatever it may be, or your iPad, and it sits in your interactions, takes live recording. It uses AI to ensure it's perfect. It then uses AI to transcribe it in real time because now we have data and we know AI loves data.
Right.
And then AI then takes that and pushes it through Boggler, which is in essence our GPT.
Right. Now, that was all last week. Let's talk about what's happened this week.
Well, that's what's happening this week.
Right.
They're getting that, right?
No, I know. But what has actually progressed in the development? What has actually, because I mean, you've created now crazy algorithms related to very, very, very specific elements that that didn't exist last week, that exist this week.
I thought you didn't want me talking that nerdy.
No, well, don't get too nerdy, but you're good at Fisher pricing. If you've got me sitting here, you must be really good at it.
Okay, so now we're capturing a conversation. We're recording it, we're transcribing it, we're summarizing it with a powerful Boggler engine. And there you have your results. You have your immediate meeting notes, you have the summary, you have ideas and thoughts that are open, you've got action items, and you got one or two others I can't remember. But to your point now, Robbie, the icing on the cake, which will go missed by many, is there's also a little rating on there. We like to call that the bar rating. That's the Boggler action rating.
Right.
And we've got two versions of that. One is the productivity and effectiveness rating, which is measured with stars, and the other is the emotion and sentiment rating.
Okay.
So instead of just like we just got off a call.
I was going to say, put it in a use case.
We just got off a call with a massive meeting planner for the biggest meeting planning association, and everyone can fill in the blanks
Whatever,
whatever that may be.
We have to be a little cryptic, but
it's acronyms.
Sure.
It's
it is?
a couple letters.
You mean associations use acronyms?
Yeah. Yes.
Right.
And, right now, for them to understand whether their keynote speaker who said, this is what my presentation is, and these are the learning outcomes, to what really happens when you walk in that room, which it very seldom tracks like that, is basically sending out a survey, 2 weeks later with a thumbs up, thumbs down.
Right.
Or maybe they'll go sit in it themselves and listen. But if you have Boggler Assist in there doing a recap, which by the way, how cool is that? We are doing that for FICP.
Right.
We'll have Assist in there, sitting, listening, and recapturing, so that can be shared after the fact as to here's what was said and here's what you should have walked away with. That's cool. But now we've created the bar. So what the bar does is that it goes in and looks at 10 different categories, right? But it uses natural language processing, contextual comprehension, and sentiment and emotion analysis. Okay? But basically what it does is it says, did this conversation or this interaction resonate? Were both parties tuned in? Was it open? Was it collaborative? Was the message met? Was the message on point? What should have someone learned if they were sitting in there? And it measures all these things. It rates each one of these categories and creates one number. So in the end, everyone wants to see how many stars they can get, but the secret sauce is how those stars were created.
Okay.
So love to deep dive with people if you want to see that. And we're also now talking about developing custom recipes or algorithms specific to an association or to a company or to anybody to do that. Imagine for, let's just say, a sermon. Do my sermons resonate, right? Does my State of the Nation for my company resonate?
Sure.
And if you ask anyone that worked for you, they'll tell you, absolutely, you killed it, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, if you're a coach, does my pregame speech,
Right.
is it impactful? Does it?
And or, this is what I was intending to say.
Right.
Did I deliver that?
Right.
Right? And if I didn't, what should I do on my next one so that I
Differently.
do?
Right.
So, I mean,
crazy.
Fascinating. So we will be using Assist in that capacity at FICP and just kind of playing around. It's not we're kind of pseudo testing, if you will, as we're doing our last baking of our algorithms on it. But it's just absolutely fascinating to see. The thing even goes in there and it measures like how long were pauses in between discussion, how many times that they stammer, meaning they weren't confident in what
Inflection
they were
in
saying.
voice, all that stuff.
Yeah, and the pace and the tone, and then the responses when you say stuff, how people responded. So really a fascinating thing. Do you have Assist running on this?
I do not.
Okay.
Nope.
Let's get that running because I'd love to see how much you're really getting out of this, Robbie.
Okay.
And that'll tell us. So Assist is now running here. So FICP is going to be fun. We'll have the activation zone. We'll be giving people Assist. We'll be using Pro AI for all the photography. We're actually, this is a cool thing. We are tasked with this. This came out last week and we're going to deploy it. You can now shoot a video of somebody doing a testimonial or reading a script that's off camera. So they're looking off to the side. But then when we throw it in our AI editor, it says, oh, do you want me to have them looking directly at the camera?
Crazy.
And that is creepy, but it does move the eyeballs and looks them right at the camera. And it is scary.
We're doing that?
We're doing that.
All right. Then we're also going to be sharing and providing everyone with access to Boggler.
That's right. Boggler.ai.
And we'll have our Boggler bar activation there.
So that's exciting because, we've been talking about it forever and it's next week. Well, that week is here, Robbie.
Yep.
And so everyone will now be able to log in with that. There are all the enhancements in the styling and prompting. So you can now, because people don't know how to prompt. God, we learn that every day. It's just like, no, you didn't get a good result because you didn't give it a good instruction.
Right.
Right? So the great thing about Boggler is that it helps you get those instructions really tight to make sure you get really beneficial responses.
Right.
So that's all kind of built in there. And it's an ever-evolving process. I mean, as we heard this week, there's so much news that's happened and so much enhancements. We were trying to show a client just earlier, here's the latest enhancements. And by the way, that'll be baked into Boggler in a week or so. But in the meantime, let me show you how it works over here.
Right. Fun stuff.
So we will be doing Boggler Assist. We'll be doing Pro AI. We'll be doing Boggler AI, just the GPT portion. We're also going to be doing a little facilitated AI, and showing people how to embed and do some of this at their. So that's this weekend. Going to be big fun.
No, I mean, you sort of hit on something I wanted to talk about. I don't even know if I told you that we were going to talk about this, but you actually crafted an article that you then loaded onto our Substack related to corporate America or organizations in general and how they are or are not necessarily implementing and educating their teams on the use of generative AI, and it was pretty fun and pretty interesting. You want to talk a little bit about that? So what was the genesis of that? How did you
The
sit down
genesis
and
of
decide
that has
that's
been
what
our
you wanted
life
to
for the
do?
last 9 months, Robbie,
Okay.
and that is everyone completely fascinated with the tools with zero thought. And I'm not saying that in a bad way. I'm just saying, but that's the case. You're so blown away by how crazy the technology is that you're not really putting a lot of thought into how does that deploy? Like, how do you make impact with that?
Yeah,
right?
you spin out when you start hearing about the technology and you get locked down on that and you don't allow yourself, I think, to back away from that, to recognize that it's just a tool.
It's just a tool.
It's a tool in the toolbox.
It's a tool in a toolbox. And that was one of the fun things that was in there. this is not a carpenter coming
Right.
to take other carpenters' jobs.
Right.
It's a tool that's in the toolbox. And more importantly, that tool didn't come with a manual.
Right.
Right. And or an explanation.
But the heart of that is so simple, but it's so true. If you allow yourself to not get confused and clouded by how techie people think AI is.
We were just on a call with another big corporation, and they were talking about, yeah, we're pretty excited because we're going to be getting Copilot, and we're going to be putting that in. And so we're going to have the Copilot because of the Copilot, which is really exciting, except that, yeah, then what? Because I talked with someone the other day who had Copilot, which, by the way, Copilot is Microsoft's, inside Microsoft's suite, generative AI that works between Excel and Word and
that you have to be
PowerPoint,
that
all
you
that
have
kind
to
of stuff.
be in Microsoft. You have to be in.
Yeah, you have to be in there, and your company has to have 300 people, and it's an extra $30 a month, whatever. Okay, it doesn't matter what it is. Again, but the fact is that this one guy who I was talking to, who works for a massive corporation, he said, "Oh yeah, man, we got that put on our computers." I was like, "You did?" He's like, "Yeah." I was like, "Man, no one's gotten that yet." He goes, "Yeah, we got it." I was like, "So how was it?" And he goes, "Well, I opened it up and basically asked it to write me an email, and the email sucked. So I don't know. I guess it's okay."
Right.
But that's everyone.
Yeah, it's the literacy. It's so important. Right.
So great. I don't care whether it's Copilot or whatever Google's doing or whatever. It's first of all, the understanding of why you would want to use it, and then the second part of how you are going to use it, right? And how it's a beneficial tool, not a replacement of what you're doing. And then, by the way, here's what we're doing as a corporation, and that's how this falls in line with everything we're doing.
Right.
And it sounds so simple, but people get so blindsided by the coolness of the tech that they just paralysis by analysis, right?
Right.
I don't sure which one should I use, because they're getting asked to make really big decisions. Who do you want to commit to for the next 2-3 years on this contract, right?
Yeah. No, I used the silly analogy maybe earlier with you. We were talking about me being in the hotel industry, starting with the function diary. For years, if you worked in a hotel that had any type of meeting space, when someone would call and want to book an event with you, you would literally then, block the guest rooms, obviously, but then they needed meeting space. So you'd go to the function diary, which was, freaking 4 feet long, depending on the
binder.
hotel. A binder.
Yeah.
Yeah. Literally
a traditional diary.
Yeah. And you're literally like turning pages, getting to the dates of when you need to block. And then you would, as we've all learned, you would pencil in those dates because it's just tentative. You don't want to put it indefinite.
Pencil that in, Robbie.
Going to pencil it in. But fast forward, when the implementation in technology began to take over and hotels started to implement electronic, or they used to create CRMs. Yeah, it's going to take, well, there literally were your job was, you were in charge, you were a function book diary manager or whatever the heck it was called. But to your point, people were afraid that was going to, but anyway, you had to be educated on what the CRM was. You had to be, to your point a second ago, you had to learn and understand why you needed to use it,
right,
how you needed to use it. The benefit, and ultimately the end benefit of why you should be using it. But it's the same thing now on a bigger scale.
It totally is. And so I'm quick to point out when I'm using AI and all that stuff. So that beautiful article that I wrote, it was stunning.
Right.
As I told you when I texted you, I was like, man, I just wrote the most amazing, tongue in cheek, because I didn't.
Right.
Robbie, sorry to tell you that.
No,
what I did do though, is I prompted it with some great instruction of, I need to write an article that is touching on these points. It's touching on everything we just said.
Yeah.
And I'd like to do it in a tone and the style like this person, but with this and do this.
You got to make it your own.
Right?
Yeah.
And so I did make it my own.
Right.
And that's not going to be duplicated anywhere else. And I wrote that article. And then I said, yeah, that's fun, but can you do that when it's not as much about carpentry? Can you do it so that it's more about a symphony, or can you do it more about this? And it was crazy. I kept doing different versions.
Oh, you did?
But anyway, that's a really fun one. And that's also a good setup and tee up for everyone following along at home. You should go check out our new Think Labs Insights, which is, as Robbie said, our Substack, which is just basically a web page, if you will, that will put the latest news and fun articles like that, just thought-provoking things to incorporate in your thoughts throughout the day as to what are we doing, where are we going, and how are we going to get there.
Right. So do we want to hit on any more with, we're good with FICP?
Yeah, I think we're ready for some hot shots.
Let's
Robbie,
do that.
what are we going to do?
We goofed around last week. We with the new wearable eye pen called, what are they're calling it? Humane.
So the company's Humane. It's pen, P-I-N. I couldn't, when they were talking about it so fast, I didn't know whether it was a pen or a pin. Anyway.
It is a P-I-N pen.
I'm going to do a reenactment. You have to stand and look directly at the camera.
That's not.
And be so
no, go ahead and
nonchalant about the whole thing.
It's a fun video, to be sure.
Anyway, it's interesting that it's coming to life. It really is. So it wasn't just some crazy video. It'll be really fascinating to see how people receive it. If they freak out about it or not, and if it works.
It's a husband and wife team previously with Apple.
And they're doing basically an AI version of Apple. So it's the size of an old matchbook. And you attach it to your body, your shirt,
yep.
your sweater, your
the
jacket.
Front part is a computer, the back part is a battery charger pack.
Yeah, battery pack.
You're right.
And it basically is, when asked, they made a big point to say that, when asked, is capturing what's happening, analyzing what's happening, responding to your needs. One thing that was cool, and it was shown visually, even though it's audibly?
Sure.
Is that the word?
Sure.
Okay. Is that you can say, hey, play the Rolling Stones for me, and it creates a sound bubble. So I could be almost sitting this close to you, and it somehow like creates a sound bubble, like you're almost wearing a helmet that is playing the music there for you. But it does stuff like there is no display. The display is a projection, and it projects onto your hand. So if it's giving you a note or giving you a description or whatever, you just hold your hand in front. Now, I have yet to see them do it outside in the sun. But I'm sure they've figured that out because they've figured out everything.
Anyone listening that knows Sam Stanton knows that whether he tells us out loud or not, he will own one of these.
I'll own one.
Yeah, he will purchase one. Let's see it. Orders begin on November 16th.
On November 16th.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, although I never did the Google Glass.
You didn't?
No, and I didn't. I got close a bunch of times, but I saw the reaction of other people to people wearing the Google Glass, and that was in a less turbulent times than we're in now.
Okay.
But people were somewhat offended. They're like, hey, are you recording this? It's like TikTok, I think, has that now with Ray-Bans.
Okay.
Which I still don't get. So it'll be interesting to see if the utility of this outshines the awkwardness of it.
Okay. I'm going to hit you with something we didn't talk about.
Okay.
But I don't know why we wouldn't have brought this up. But for the last 3 months, you and I both have been crazy excited about Plod.
Yes.
So Plod, I didn't actually,
yes.
I'm going to.
Here, for those watching.
Yeah, for those watching.
Here's Plod. Is it in here?
No, it's in my bag. But,
okay.
But you
Keep
can
going.
actually, yeah. So we were excited early on because, again, speaking of, I guess, wearable AIs, if you will, Plod is an AI recording device that
looks just like this for those watching.
That looks like if you have an iPhone with a wallet, a magnetic wallet that attaches to the back, that's what it looks like.
Not very securely, though.
Right.
Especially for an expensive piece of hardware.
Exactly.
Okay.
So those were ordered, what were those, $150 or something like that?
Oh, no, I don't want to remember.
Right, I understand. So they took forever because it was a Kickstarter, no?
So here's what a Plod is. This is about the size of a credit card.
Right.
Okay, and it goes on the back of the phone like Robbie said. And the dream that what they sold was that it will record your conversation much like...
Right.
Okay,
yeah.
Anyway, it'll record your conversation, then runs AI
for transcription. Right.
Then gives you meeting notes and whatever.
Okay.
So hey, I'm all for that, right?
Right.
Especially when this started, which was like at the beginning of AI.
It just shows how quickly things.
So that was February.
Right.
So that was amazing.
Right.
Right. Well, needless to say, we saw the need right away and saw much, much, much more, i.e. Boggler Assist. Right. And so while they kept saying next month, we went ahead and developed our thing. So now we finally get this thing. Right.
Wait, where's our hardware?
Yeah, so
what?
That's one of the problems. One of the problems why they couldn't get it to us is because it was hardware.
Okay.
And, you have to go through 50 different versions and all that stuff, right?
Right.
But, so we get the thing. So yes, you know what? It is cool.
It's cool, and you can tell it's high quality.
I still don't know how to use it, which that's a problem.
Oh, okay.
Okay?
Yeah, it's clunky for sure.
And then there's a button here that does something, and there's another one here.
It's
And
recording,
I think there's a manual, but I don't read manuals.
Right, and there's an app, and you get, right.
Okay.
Yep.
But here's the biggest disappointment. I've done 2 what we call assist with it, or recordings. And I'm just dying for this amazing summary of my thing, because that's what this is all about. And it is the most emoticon-laden fluff you've ever seen. So my hour-long conversation was 6 bullet points that all started with emoticons, everything in complete bold, and it's completely useless.
Yeah, and we're jaded.
So
now,
just in case you're not sure or clear, this is not a commercial for Plod.
it's not?
No.
No, and I don't think they would think it would be either.
So we're just very happy to see that, actually, because assist might have been in comparison to this, but there's not. And on that note, too, we did a recent analysis of the market, found over 52 different companies that are in some form or fashion either recording or transcribing or summarizing. Maybe not all 3 of those.
Yeah, most of them aren't summarizing,
right?
Really.
Or it's a add-on to your Google Meet or your Zoom meeting, which, by the way, hello, they're already doing.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
There was no lie, 3 or 4 ones that were actual standalones that would be considered in the same category.
General
Half
purpose.
the feature set
of
what we're launching tomorrow, Robbie.
Yeah. Well, anyway, I just thought that was fun to bring up because even though.
So there was not a hot shot, but a cold shot.
Right.
Okay.
So let's talk about, maybe we wrap this up, but we always say let's wrap it up, but we never end up wrapping it up. But let's talk about our one listener, your mom.
Oh, yes.
That's an awesome story. I don't know if I teed you up for this either, but this is a funny, funny story. She's 52?
82.
I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
Right. She's 82, and it's an awesome story.
So I think you're talking about her friend.
Her friend in Hawaii.
Mom has a couple friends. She's 82, and
what's mom's name? Come on.
Adrian.
Okay. Let's let everybody. So she's listening.
The UK lady, as she goes on her email.
Yeah, that's her email.
And she speaks the Queen's English.
Okay, perfect.
Can you still say that if the Queen's not around anymore? Okay.
I'm sure she would say yes.
Anyway, one of her friends was telling her how she should seek advice from a tarot card reader. So
how did that even, what's the context of that?
I don't know. I do know that Mom, when Dad was around, had Dad for advice and Dad for discussion.
Right.
And when you lose your partner, you're looking for that, insight.
Right.
And so she was looking for that. And her friend said, well, I get all mine done by tarot card reader. And you should try that. And
I'm
Mom's
sure that's
like,
some stimulating conversation.
I don't think I would like to with a tarot card reader. I'm fine. And so I said, Mom, you should use AI. I bet you can get an AI tarot card reader. I mean, you could probably use Boggler, but let's use one of the empathetic
and
AIs.
the UK lady's becoming a super user on Boggler.
Yeah, she is.
Yeah.
So I, for fun, fired up, and this is a good story and an explanation of how to prompt, Robbie.
Yeah.
So I fired up, if you'll remember, we talked previously, Inflection Pi, P-I. That's a killer app. You should go download it. It is an empathetic, conversational, voice-driven AI assistant. So what does that mean? That means you just talk to it and it talks back to you.
So crazy.
Okay,
yes.
So I fired up Pi and said, hey, can you read my tarot cards? To which it laughed, which I think's funny. It laughs and says, no. We don't do that here, basically. I was like, okay, so this is our reapproach. This is what we're trying to explain to people. So say you were a tarot card reader, what would be the questions that you would ask somebody? Go ahead and ask me those questions. And so it actually laughed and then said, I see what you're doing, but I'll play your game. It said, and then it began to ask me, I guess, the questions that a tarot card reader would ask, which is basically kind of like a reflection or inflection?
Self-reflection.
Self-reflection. What are some of the
Yeah.
busiest things that, ask you all those questions, right? And then I said, okay, well, if you were a tarot card reader, what suggestions would you give me based on that? Well, we really don't do that. I know, but if you did, what would you do? And it did. So in the end, I shared that with my mom, who was like, well, I'm going to try that right. And she did. And so now it'll be interesting to hear if she goes and takes it to her friend and
That's
says,
awesome.
hey, instead of $150 an hour.
No, but it's a great example of how even, folks that are, to your point, your mom who doesn't have all of the, the folks or the people around her,
right,
that she, that she used to have conversation with, can use, AI in a very, very unintimidating. I mean, it is a little weird initially.
It is.
But after you get past that, it's very, very cool. And you're right. It's like having a conversation. You're asking someone a question and they're like, well, we don't do that. Okay, I'm fine. Yeah. But if you did, what would you do?
Right.
Right. Or how would you react to something?
So that's Inflection Pie, and shout out to moms for not being afraid and just trying something, right?
Right.
Now, I think she might be afraid to go share that with her friend. And on a separate note, if you go to tarotcard.ai, I've set up a whole site. No, I haven't. No,
not yet.
Not yet.
Not yet.
Not yet.
How many URLs do you own? That's a whole nother.
Too many. And that was.
How many do you? Take a ballpark.
Well, and for what provider? Because I got a slew with each one.
Collectively,
I would say I probably have about 70 URLs.
Okay, that's crazy.
This is interesting though when talking about tone and talking about advice or what have you. I'm preempting you.
Okay.
A hot shot we should discuss, which will be a discussion here soon, is that our good friend Elon Musk has just launched X.ai, and then he tried to preempt. He didn't try, he did, but I don't know how big of an impact he had. OpenAI's big developer meeting earlier this week.
He launched the same day,
which I'd love to talk to people about, but I think it's too nerdy. So if you want to do that, we can maybe do that on a different show. It's the AI Nerd Show. But he pre-announced that, hey, we're launching our own GPT, if you will, called Grok or Gronk.
Grok. Because I thought, okay, wow, look at Gronkowski.
Yeah, that's right. That's why I got
it's
that.
Grok.
Grok,
right.
Which is a large language model, an LLM, and it's an assistant that you can communicate with. Now, the thing to remember here is that all these LLMs, these large language models, are trained on something. And so before anyone was paying attention, the OpenAIs of the world went and just grabbed all kinds of stuff off the web without permission, right? And that's what they were trained on. So that's, and all those books. So that's why it's so smart and what it does. But now we're having to restrict what we can and get licenses and do all that stuff. Well, think about what our good friend Elon did, is that he trained it on Twitter, which might be good or bad. It's definitely the latest because it's news by the second.
It's the most current. Yeah, that's
but it's
the
also
hook,
probably
right.
the most wheels off ever, especially since he's now in control.
Well, who knows?
Okay. He also, though, trained it on all the insight that Tesla has and picks up. So every Tesla car driving around is shooting video nonstop, observationally taking all that. And that's all used in their algorithm. Right. Same with his rocket company, and he's also got a robot company. So it's being trained on all that stuff. The other thing is it's completely wheels off in what it'll talk about and how it talks about it.
And they've only trained it for 2 months?
2 months.
2 months. And I find it interesting, too, that he's blocked all of access to the API for any of the other LLMs.
That's exactly right. So a lot of people were training off of Twitter, and he's like, not anymore, that's ours.
Right.
So, but the wheels off portion, I mean, like in his demo, he's like, how do you make cocaine?
I didn't see that. Did he? That's crazy.
So Well, they said, well,
What was the
but
answer?
in a funny tone, the Grok, is it Grok?
Grok.
Grok.
Yeah.
Grok responded with, first you must get a chemist degree, and then you must find a location where no one will find you.
No.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it sounded really funny.
I gotta go find that.
Yeah, but it is very sarcastic.
Wait, so you got to find a chemist, and then you got to go find the underground
Yeah.
tunnel, wherever you're gonna. Right. That's funny.
So, there's another
I
segue.
know.
Do go check out Cyber Bunker on Netflix. It's incredibly nerdy and crazy, but that's a fun watch. But yeah, so Grok is an unfiltered, I'm going to tell you how it is one thing.
It's edgy. That's
It's
the other
edgy.
thing. It's a little edgier.
But maybe that's fun.
It'll respond to prompts that, GPT and certainly Boggler wouldn't respond
Exactly.
to if they were to come across a bit
Yeah.
left of center or a little bit.
This is wide open. Just
Right.
turn it up to 11, Robbie.
Right.
So the other thing to note on Grok is that they did not obviously red team it. And so for
I was going
those-
to ask you, I didn't know what that, I should,
So,
I guess,
good.
but I don't know what that term means.
So first of all, so as we said with GPT, they absorbed everything in October of 21, right? But we didn't see it till November
So-
of 22.
So they were trying to break it.
Yeah. So what red
Okay.
teaming does is twofold. One is try and break it.
Okay.
Two, it has that, I always blow up this acronym, and I love acronyms. Human factor reactive learning foundation algorithm. I think I got too many letters.
yeah,
Can I
right.
buy a vowel?
No, nobody's going to know what you're talking about.
Human reinforcement learning. So
Okay.
basically what it does is they had humans work on ChatGPT and look at responses, and just like on Boggler, has a thumbs up or thumbs down. So was this right or wrong? So when you red team, not only are you checking to see if it's doing bad things, but you're just also checking the accuracy of the responses.
Would you do like a hackathon as
Yeah,
well?
I mean, it's
All
a
part of it?
hackathon that lasts for a year.
Okay.
So considering they just started building Grok 2 months ago, pretty sure they haven't done any red teaming at all on it. So it is wheels off, wide open.
Okay.
So we should be paying attention to that, and that might be just fun,
Just to mess around with.
mess around with.
Yep.
What else we got, Robbie?
I
Or
think
is that going to wrap
I
up
think
our
that's
show?
gonna wrap it up for this week. We'll have a ton of fun stuff, I think, to talk about from our experiences next week. Then we've got Thanksgiving, and then you've got a fun trip coming up. So
Yeah, so we'll be doing that partially in the AGNC and partially here from the studios.
perfect.
So I think that is it, everyone. Thank you for tuning in. Do check out Think Labs Insights, our new site. And then if you know anyone that is currently using AI successfully and impactfully in their business, we'd love to interview them
Yep.
and hear about what they're doing and how they're doing it, and probably give some tips to all kinds of people based on that. We'd love to hear from you on that. That's it for now. Thanks again, everyone. Take care.
Thanks for tuning into the AI show from Think Labs. Don't miss out on next week's episode, where we'll continue to Fisher Price the latest in AI that will make impact for you and your organization. Be sure to subscribe so you never miss an update, and visit redbutton.ai to learn more about innovation for professionals and organizations. By the way, I'm Boggler, Sam and Robbie's professional assistant that takes care of all their busy work. Ever think about all that repetitive, mind-numbing, time-sucking busy work I could knock out for you? That's it for now. Thanks again for joining. Until next time, make it an awesome week.